Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillah. Wassalatu wassalamu ala Rasulullah. We continue reading from Imam Al-Ghazali's Jawahir al-Quran, the Jews of the Quran Spares. Still reading from Surah Ash-Shu'ara, the poets. And it is verse 160, the people of Lot. Qawm Lut, alayhi salam. Now, the cornerstone of revelation of the da'wah of every prophet to his own people until basically we reach Islam. Then it's not their own people in particular; it's universal. So the essential part is أن اعبدوا الله ما لكم من إله غيره. Do worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You have no other God. Meaning that your gods are false, whatever you are worshipping. That's the cornerstone. أن اعبدوا الله ما لكم من إله غيره. That's the call of practically every prophet, and it's almost literal. This call, and you'll find it in the story of every prophet. In addition to the issue of belief, which is the major issue, really, some people have a specific social problem. For example, the people of Shu'aib, in terms of worship, they have worshipped a densely an orchard with dense trees, al-Aika. So that's the area of worship. But the issue, the social issue, was that they used to cheat in their measurements. So when they do business transactions, they would cheat, and they do not really weigh things properly. And their punishment, you talk about sayha there, the sound. They are not the only ones to have that. Rajfa, you talk about an earthquake, but also the adab yawm al-dhulla, they suffered from heat, and out of a sudden they saw a massive cloud, and they wanted to be in the shade of that cloud, but the fire came from that cloud. This is, but what I'm trying to highlight is that they had a problem in terms of their social behavior. So it's in the area of business, in the area of their transactions. Now, the next story is the story of Sayyidina Lut alayhi salam. Their problem was homosexuality, and I'm just putting this forward up front because there are those who try to make the story as if basically it's as if it was a problem of hospitality. Now, let's read and let's see what we have, and then we'll just probably go back to the notion of misrepresenting the Quran and misinterpreting the Quran, and definitely also misrepresenting and misinterpreting the Torah as is. For there are direct verses that prohibit homosexuality, and it's not really a problem of hospitality. أعوذ بالله السميع العليم من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. كذبت قوم لوط المرسلين. Again, we have this several times, that the people of Lot, they have rejected the messengers. Rejecting Sayyidina Lut alayhi salam is rejecting the messengers rejecting the message. إذ قال لهم أخوهم لوط ألا تتقون. So their brother, Lot, Sayyidina Lut alayhi salam, he told them, will you not fear Allah? Will you not fear? Will you not fear Allah, of course? Wouldn't you be God conscientious? Wouldn't you basically uh, change course through a different relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Change course, change your behavior. I am truly a trustworthy messenger to you. إذ قال لهم أخوهم لوط ألا تتقون إني لكم رسول أمين فاتقوا الله وأطيعون. That's again almost literally it has been mentioned by the other prophets. So fear Allah and obey me. Of course, it's about obedience, and that's the problem with humanity in general. They don't want to obey. They would like to follow their lust. That's very primal. They don't want to. They don't want the law if the law punishes them. If the law tells them don't do this. I remember um, the story of a woman. It's not about, regardless of it could have been in any religion, but it's a story about a woman who belongs to the Church of All Saints, the Mormons, and definitely she was doing things that cannot be accepted by any religion, by any religion. And she said, unless her church accepts her, she'll move to a different church. Practically, she was willing to change religion. She wants to do whatever she's doing. I'm not going to go into details. Her story was uh, mentioned in the news. So twist religion, accommodate my way of life, which is definitely ungodly. It does violate the law, no matter how permissible, how liberal, how accepting you are. There are certain things you cannot say that God accepts this. So fear Allah and obey me. وما أسألكم عليه من أجر إن أجري إلى رب العالمين. Same like other prophets, he was not seeking any reward from them, no compensation, no. This is definitely his reward, the prophet, and the reward of all should be from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I do not ask you for any reward for this message. وما أسألكم عليه من أجر. My reward is only from the Lord of worlds. Now the statement is very clear. أتأتون الذكران من العالمين وتذرون ما خلق لكم ربكم من أزواجكم بل أنتم قوم عادون. Why do you men, why do you lust after fellow men? أتأتون الذكران, how it cannot be more. All men, you lust after men, after all men. Okay, and this is really a very clear message. And if you just in case you don't understand this, the next verse 166 says, leaving the wives that your Lord has created for you. Men get married. Men, a family is basically a man and a woman, and the your natural sexual your sexuality, your sexual desire should be fulfilled with your wives. وتذرون ما خلق لكم ربكم من أزواجكم بل أنتم قوم عادون. In fact, you are a transgressing people. وتذرون ما خلق لكم ربكم من أزواجكم. It's very clear. There is a book. It was published in 2003. Progressive Muslims. And then the book was edited by Umayyad Safi. And in that book, there was an article about uh, homosexuality, and the article claims claims that the Quran does not prohibit homosexuality, and the article skips uh, these verses that I'm reading right now. Okay, that's an agenda. That's an agenda, and the author. I met the editor more than once, but I remember speaking with him about that particular article, not his, but still, he is responsible since he's the editor. The book was already published, and I told him about the verses that were not in that they were deliberately dropped from that, like they were not included in that article. And definitely there was, people should understand, you are the editor, you are responsible, and you are responsible. I'm not talking about legal responsibility in this world, okay? I'm talking about responsibility in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The the article, which was written by Scott Siraj al-Haq. I mean, this is something that when this is the article was developed later on into a book. He found support in Holland, of course, and the issues that in the name of progress, liberalism. I mean, people don't understand how far people went. So, a mosque for homosexuals, uh, an imam who is homosexual, uh, advertisement for Muslims who will have like a summer school. You can bring your you cannot drink, you cannot smoke weed, but you can bring your partner, homosexual partner, to the. All these things are, the problem is, people crossed the boundaries in every culture, in every religion, but to attempt to make it legal, to make it legitimate, that's the problem with the problem uh, of Scott in that particular Scott Kugel. So Sayyidina Lut alayhi salam, why he said to his own people, why do you men lust after fellow men? It cannot be more clear. And remember in the story that the angels, of course, they took anthropomorphic form. They passed by Sayyidina Ibrahim alayhi salam. He prepared for the food for them. I don't want to go into much details. They refrained from eating, say, a roasted fat veal, and they refrained from eating. And Sayyidina Ibrahim alayhi salam did not feel good about that, because if you don't share the meal, I mean, you are harboring something But in their case, their nature did not change. They were angels taking the anthropomorphic form, looking like human beings. And at one point, they brought him and Sarah good omen about having Isaac and later on as a son and Jacob as a grandson. It's a very important story, but they told him about the punishment that they have for the people of Lut alayhi salam. And Ibrahim alayhi salam tried to plead with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. General punishment is a very severe thing. So these angels went to Sayyidina Lut alayhi salam. Uh, yeah, they took the anthropomorphic form. They looked like men. Practically they were men, and the men in the amongst the people of Lot, they lusted after those angels. And Sayyidina Lut alayhi salam, he tried to plead with his own people, stop it. What was their reaction? Their reaction was, if you don't desist, they threatened Sayyidina Lut alayhi salam, if you don't desist, you will surely be expelled from the community. They will reject him, they will not accept him anymore. So, if you are the authority on ethics, morality, in this case, through religion, through revelation, you'll find that some people in the society will reject you. Definitely, this was the case through and through. He responded to them, I am truly one of those who despise your shameful practice. رَبِّ نَجِّنِي وَأَهْلِي مِمَّا يَعْمَلُونَ. He asked Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to save him and his family from their actions, from their deeds. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala saved him, his family, except the old woman, his wife. She was one of the doomed. Why she was doomed? This is the wife of a prophet. She supported the hair community. She supported the wrongdoing of her community, their community. She supported the wrongdoing, and this is something that we should think about. There are those who do things, and there are those who approve these things. And I think today, one of the most important areas that people should pay attention to, lawmakers, as they call them. You are a parliamentarian, you are a member of Congress, you are a member of the Senate, you are a member of whatever legislative council in your own country, you are a lawmaker. Pay attention. Do not pass laws that violate the divine law. Point. Does it mean that there will be no foreign aid? It will be shameful if the South, I'm talking now especially about Muslims, it will be shameful if all these tens of Muslim countries will continue to wait for international aid. It's time to liberate themselves, not from the law, but to liberate themselves from being dependent on foreign aid. One can talk about the reason for this, the history of colonialism, direct colonialism, and then, of course, the whatever is left indirectly of the old system. People are still trapped. So he was saved, his family, and the rest of them, they were destroyed. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, ثم دمرنا الآخرين, then we utterly destroyed the rest. وأمطرنا عليهم مطرا فساء مطر المنذرين, pouring upon them a rain of brimstone. That rain, it was, of course, not the normal rain. How evil was the rain of those who had been warned. Like they were doomed. And of course, it was flipped literally. in a in a different context in the Quran, the borrowing from uh, the biblical narrative Sodom and Gomorrah. They were flipped upside down. That would have been surely this is a sign. Yet most of them would not believe. إن في ذلك لآية وما كان أكثر مؤمنين وإن ربك لهو العزيز الرحيم. And your Lord is certainly the Almighty, most merciful. Yes, so the Sayyidina Lut alayhi salam and whoever was saved, not his wife, from his family. In the biblical narrative, and this is really what I would like also to share. In the biblical narrative, two daughters of his were saved. They were in the desert, and they started thinking, his daughters, that there were no men, and that they gave their father, to Lut alayhi salam, wine to drink, and when he was intoxicated, in the first night, the elderly daughter, she slept with her father, and in the second night, the younger daughter, she slept with her father, and I think this is like their offspring becomes the Moabites or whatever. So a family that was saved because of their integrity, because of their faith, because of their uh, abstinence, because they would not really go along their own community's guidelines for, it was sexual perversion. And out of a sudden, they say there are no men in the desert, and the only man was their father. That's how there was a general massive punishment for their people. And if anyone who's not familiar with the geography of the area would think that the desert is like the Sahara, in Africa, or like the desert in Rub' al Khali, the empty quarter, as they call it in the Arabian Peninsula. Or no, it's not. This is not a. I did walk. I walked from Bethlehem to the Dead Sea in few hours. So assume that they were either on the edge of that desert or in the middle of it. They were a couple of hours from the known towns. Remember, even the biblical narrative itself speaks about the uh, uh, the friction between the herdsmen of Sayyidina Ibrahim and the herdsmen of Sayyidina Lot. So there were men, and that argument definitely would not go very far. This is not only about distances and the presence of other towns and cities that dotted the area. It's about they were saved because of their integrity. They were saved because they were believers. And you don't flip and just like this and attribute incest to a prophet who had just preached against sexual perversion. You accuse this prophet of incest. This is something that is abhorrent, and there are many stories including sexual. We talk about adultery, talk about uh, relations that would not take place between even normal people, mind you, people like the prophets themselves. And I'm talking about the biblical narrative. Nothing like this is in the Quran. Is it a message? Oh yes, definitely yes. إن في ذلك الآية وما كان أكثرهم مؤمنين. Subhanallah. Now the next story is the story of the people of Shu'aib, and inshallah we will deal with this in the next session. Until then, سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.